Anti-social media and hate speech bills are still generating an uproar in public discussions among Nigerians, as it's believed that these bills hold no public interest. Sponsors of the bills tried to enlighten the public on their provisions at a town hall meeting that held in Abuja, but they failed to reach a common ground with others in attendance. Correspondent Tijesu Adeoye was there.
A recent viral video showing the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, denying knowledge of the hate speech and anti-social media bills currently before the National Assembly has got Nigerians talking again. This has raised fresh questions on the true motives behind these bills and if indeed it holds public interests.
We need to understand one point.
At this town hall meeting, both sponsors of the bill tried to assure Nigerians they had nothing to fear, as they are only intended to regulate the dissemination of wrong and dangerous information.
Well, let's get more from this. Tijesu Adeoye joins us live from Abuja. Let's talk about the recommendations and resolutions agreed upon at this public hearing.
Well, first of all, Nifemi, let me tell you that before a bill is being passed in the National Assembly, it goes through stages. First, it is read on the floor and for the first time, and then the second time it is brought to be deliberated by lawmakers to make their own legislative input. Then it is referred to the committee level and open for public hearing. Now, this is part of the process, only that is not a legislative process. This is one that was organized by a media outlet where it brought together stakeholders, particularly the co-sponsors of this bill, to express to Nigerians what the provision, or to enlighten Nigerians on what the provisions of these bills are. Probably there may be a mix-up somewhere where Nigerians are misunderstanding the provisions of this bill, and maybe they could find a meeting point. But even after they, enlighten Nigerians on the provisions of this bill, a lot of Nigerians were still disagreeing with this, saying that this is not what the country needs at this time, and the National Assembly should focus on more pressing issues. Take, for instance, the insecurity we have in the country, or poverty level, or unemployment. They believe that the National Assembly should focus more on these pressing issues. And even if this law should be passed, then it should apply to those social media companies rather than the users themselves. So these are the conclusions they came to. It's either it applies to the companies, the social media companies, or it should be thrown out completely from the National Assembly.
What is the implication of such disagreement on the prospects of this bill? How do we tell whether or not the sponsors are able to convince Nigerians via this process?
Well, that's why public hearings like these are being organized, so that there will be sort of like a meeting point between the two divides, so that they discuss. Each divide is allowed to say his own views, to get the input of the other. But now today that there is no form of agreement, Nigerians are still insisting this is not what we need as a country, and also these co-sponsors are saying this is what is being needed. But what they are actually insisting on is that this bill is in the interest of Nigerians. And the question people are asking is that since this bill is in the interest of Nigerians and is generating a lot of outcry among Nigerians, then why are they still insisting on passing this bill? That is a question that they left for the co-sponsors to answer.
Apparently, these two bills, the fate of these two bills are hanging in the balance. Keep an eye on it for us to know which way it goes when it returns to the National Assembly. Tijesu Adeoye joins us live from Abuja.